All right, it's time for the best of the year now.
Another year gone.
Hey guys, welcome to their top 10 list. Welcome to my top 10 best movies of 2023. A little early on this one. I know a lot of people are probably making their lists near the ending of December. This is still in the mid of December, but I'm going to be very busy this month. I'm going on vacation for about a week and a bit, and I'm just not going to really have much time. I've seen all the movies that I've wanted to see for this year. You probably already saw now my quick movie reviews. Those are the movies I've seen this past week that I wanted to see before the year was up. And yeah, none of those spoilers, none of those movies made this list, but still wanted to check them out and see if they were any good. Some were, some were definitely not. But best of the year, pretty good year. I thought this was a lot better than last year. There's some really solid goddamn fucking movies here, and there's movies that I will definitely be rewatching in the new year, and movies that I was very glad, and movies that really hit me emotionally. And I'm not gonna say this is like the return to form of cinema, but it's a step in the right direction. I'd say mostly my top 8 are like really solid flicks. My number 9 and 10 were always like swapping it out with the honorable mentions, but and again, this best list is of course my opinion. It's like my favorites, what I think are the best movies of 2023 are, and once again, I haven't seen every single movie, so take that with a grain of salt. All right, let's start with the honorable mentions. Movies that I really enjoyed, but that just couldn't quite make that top 10 list. The first one was Air. I really enjoyed Air. Ben Affleck directed movie. Did a great job with this film. I love the story about Air Jordans and Nike. I think Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Chris Tucker, Viola Davis are all solid in the movie. Had a great sense of humor. And I don't know, just tackled a story that I just knew nothing about, and those are always like some of my favorites. The next was The Boy and the Heron, Hayao Miyazaki's probably final film, the swan song of one of the great animated directors of all time. I loved this movie. I thought it was very beautifully animated. I thought it was very intelligent. I loved the characters. I think it'll need a few more rewatches, and I could probably tell in the future this would probably make the top 10 list, but who knows? Just there's other films that just hit me a different way, but this movie was still really solid. Next was Sound of Freedom. I think Sound of Freedom was a very important story to tell about sex trafficking. I think Jim Caviezel is fantastic in this movie, and I think the writing is very solidly done. I hate that there was a lot of controversy because people called it a conservative movie and stuff, but just watch the movie. It's a good movie. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant was a really great war movie, very brutal. Jake Gyllenhaal kills it in this movie. And A Haunting of Venice is a movie that almost made my top 10 list as well. These movies just get better. These Kenneth Branagh murder mystery movies. Murder on the Orient Express was good, but it was just never as good as the original Sidney Lumet version. Death on the Nile was a lot better, and this one was better than all of them, and I think it was genuinely eerie with great atmosphere and with a great twist, and I really dug the shit out of it, and I actually thought about maybe putting it in my top 10 list, but didn't quite make it. What did make it was my number 10. My number 10 is a Netflix documentary called Sly. Sly is about Sylvester Stallone. It is a personal documentary about his life and his filmography. Very similar to like Spielberg, I Am Heath, and De Palma. I think this is just a lot more emotional, the way Stallone is telling the story about his life, that he's moving out of the house that he's always lived in, but his kids have moved on. And just the way he tells the story and the way he speaks to us as the audience is just so great. It's a very beautiful documentary. I've watched this 3 times and showed different people it because I'm a huge Sylvester Stallone fan. So knowing even more, there's a lot of things he talked about that I knew about, but there's other things that I didn't know about, and just little facts about each movie he played in. I just was really enthralled with this movie. It was funny, it was deep, it was very moving. I think Stallone's just a very smart and very likable guy. Just watching a 2-hour documentary about him was just wonderful, and I loved watching it. And it was definitely the movie I probably watched the most out of most of the movies on my top 10 list. Coming in number 9 was Tetris. Tetris had no reason to be this good or good at all. When I heard they were making a movie about Tetris, I'm like, that sounds stupid. It's about blocks. No, it's about the creation of Tetris during the wartime, and the desperation this man goes through to get this video game made and get paid for it. Taron Egerton crushes it in this movie, and it has a great sense of humor, but also really great emotionality during this this time. It talks about the wartime. It talks about a lot of the espionage that went down, and also some of the crazy stuff that happened with Nintendo during this time, and how to getting this game made was just insane, and it became the most iconic game of all time. I really enjoyed it. I watched it twice, and I just dug it both times. It just had a fun ride with this movie, and the fact that they also put kind of like transition with video game effects and visuals I thought it was kind of cool. It wasn't needed, but it was cool, and I just really enjoyed the film. Coming to number 8 was Past Lives. Past Lives is a great, deep, dramatic romance film about a romance that can never be. A romance between two people who loved each other as a very young age, and then when they get older and they're with different people, they meet each other again, and that spark comes back again. But do they take that spark and run with it, or stay with people that they've committed to? It's a very beautiful story. It's a heart story. It's a relatable story. It's a story people can just connect with instantly. I think Greta Lee is stunning. I think she deserves an Oscar nomination for her performance. The writing is super strong, and just it's a movie that really kind of struck core with me. I like movies like this, and it reminded me a little bit of like the Before trilogy in a lot of that sense. And yeah, definitely recommend this one. Coming number 7 is an animated film called Suzume. Suzume is directed by probably my second favorite animated director of all time, called Makoto Shinkai. This is nowhere near as good as Your Name, but it's right up there with like 5 centimeters per second or Withering with You. Really great movie, very beautiful story, great fantasy story about. I like because Makoto Shinkai, all his movies were mostly romantic films, and there is a romance, but it's actually more of like a fantasy thriller in a lot of ways. Stunning atmosphere, beautiful animation, great sense of humor. It's probably the funniest movie Makoto Shinkai has made, and it's a movie that I was just blown away with, and definitely one of my favorite anime films. But it's not my favorite. My favorite anime film is my number 6, and that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This movie was fantastic. It was almost as good, if not better, than Into the Spider-Verse, which was a top-notch, spectacular Spider-Man movie, an animated film. The visuals were trippy and amazing and unique. Miles Morales' story is just so much more interesting. I thought he was a great character in the first film, but he's a lot more compelling, a lot more enjoyable, a lot more three-dimensional in this movie. Gwen is same with her, and her relationship with her father is all great. The new characters like Spider-Man 2099, and we got like Rock and Roll Spider-Man, Heavy Metal Spider-Man. We got all these different Spider-Mans. When you go into the Spider-Verse and see all these different Spider-Mans, it's just really great. Seeing the old school Peter Parker was awesome too. The ending just leaves you hooked, and then you want to see where the hell this story's going. Great action, stunning animation, a kick-ass soundtrack, and just a wicked-ass movie. All right, top 5 now. Number 5 is The Holdovers. Holdovers is a great Christmas movie, and it's a very great and deep movie about these characters staying behind and not having families and stuff. It's just got a great sense of humor, and it's also got a really great story. Paul Giamatti is amazing in this film. He's so good. What's her name? Oh my god, I forgot her name already. You know who she is. She's gonna get nominated for supporting actress. She's solid too. The young guy who plays the lead kid in the movie is great. The ending is super good. I don't know. I just really dug this movie, really got into it. And when it comes to Alexander Payne, he just can write such great characters, whether they're likable or unlikable. Like, watch movies like Descendants and Election, two great opposite spectrums about unlikable characters and very likable characters. This one has more, again, on the likable side, but has that humanity and dishonesty that humans have. And it's very good, very real, and just very funny. Number 4, probably the best action movie of the year, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. I will always probably put a Mission Impossible movie in a top 10 list because I'm a huge Mission Impossible fan, huge Tom Cruise fan. Damn great movie, damn spectacular action sequences. The way they did this movie, man, they can't miss with these new Mission Impossible movies. And I'm really, really excited for Part 2, seeing where they're going with it. I don't think it's quite there with Ghost Protocol or Fallout, but it's up there. It's top 4, definitely, for sure. But yeah, loved it. Mission Impossible. Number 3, biggest shock. Never would have thought this would even make a top 10 list. Godzilla Minus One. Godzilla Minus One was an amazing movie. An amazing foreign language monster film. And I was never a big Godzilla guy. I even said in my review I'm not a big Godzilla fan, but this movie made me a huge fan that I'm actually going to watch all the old school Godzilla films, so maybe I could do a ranking or something. This movie was so good because it's a lot about the characters. The characters were so compelling, so enjoyable, and it was also a great monster movie and a great like thriller, beautiful, stunning action sequences and effects, and great emotional, hard-hitting scenes. This is the way you do a monster movie. That's how you do it, people. Watch this movie and study it because that's how it's fucking done. Good job, Godzilla. -1. Coming at number 2 was my number 1 for most of the year, but then the movie just beat it out. But Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer is my second favorite film of the year. Christopher Nolan is back. Christopher Nolan has not really impressed me in the past few years. I was not a huge Tenet fan, not an Interstellar fan. I didn't mind Dunkirk. Dunkirk was pretty good. What the fuck else did he do? There's another movie he did that I was not a fan. I don't know. Like Christopher Nolan just, I felt like there was just not much left in him. Like it's like he had no more juice or something. Like where's the Dark Knight? Batman Begins, Inception, Prestige, Insomnia, Memento version of Nolan that I know and love. And then he showed it in this movie with Oppenheimer. This movie is brilliantly directed, wonderfully shot. A-list cast, all give stunning performances, especially Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer himself. The practical effects, the emotional and dark and gritty storytelling, and a brutal climax. Just an amazing film about Oppenheimer. And I'm glad it did well because of the Barbenheimer. Barbie definitely did not make this list, but Oppenheimer did, so there you go. Number 1, a movie I literally just saw a week ago, The Iron Claw. The Iron Claw was sensational. This is a story about the Von Erich family and the tragedies that bestowed them while they were in the wrestling league. Spectacular movie. One of the best character studies I've seen. An amazing biopic. Zac Efron is top-notch, spectacular in this movie. The best performance I've ever seen Zac Efron ever give in a movie. Beautifully directed. Very powerful. It is so depressing, but it's a very important story. If you're a wrestling fan, you'll love it. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I knew I'd love it. Didn't know I'd love it this much. Favorite movie of the year for this guy. So yeah, that was my top 10 best movies of 2023 in my opinion. So let me know in the comment section below. What are your favorite films of 2023, baby? Give me your lists. Comment below and let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please subscribe to this channel and join the dark side.